The Great Smoky Mountain National Park.
Before the founding of the park, the land was inhabited by the Great Cherokee Indians who arrived in the area around 1000 AD. The Eastern Band lived in the Smoky Mountains where they farmed the land, raising a variety of crops which were supplemented by hunting and fishing. Unfortunately, when gold was discovered in Georgia, President Andrew Jackson ordered the removal of these people and forced them into Arkansas and Oklahoma. Though most were forced Though most were forced to move, the Oconaluftee Cherokee stood their ground in North Carolina and Lower Tennessee through the efforts of William H. Thomas, a successful businessman who had grown up among the Cherokees. Thus began the Eastern Band of Cherokees, which is still present today. And it was singled out to be a PA during the 1920s. The Great Smoky Mountain National Park was established, and the main goal was to protect and save the forest and the wildlife that lived there.
Even though there are many contributors to the establishment of the Great National Park, a few notable names are Paul Fink, George Massa, Jim Thompson, and Ann Davis. I'd like to mention Ann Davis first because she was one of the first persons to mention there ought to be a national park in the Appalachia region. Another name that needs to be mentioned is Paul Fink. Fink is credited for establishing most of the Appalachian Trail. The initial proposal route was to trail through Mount Mitchell and the Black Mountains, staying entirely out of Tennessee. Fink was an active leader in the Appalachian Trail Conference, serving on its board from 1925 to 1949. George Massa and Jim Thompson are well known as the first photographers of the park, publishing their photos alongside articles pleading for a national park here.
The Great Smoky Mountain National Park is IUCN Category 2, and currently the park is pretty efficient in management and protection, but it still faces a significant amount of threats, including high threats.
Air pollution is one of the highest threats in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. Air pollution is shrinking scenic views, damaging plants, and degrading high elevation streams and soils in the Great Smoky Mountains. Even human health is at risk. Most pollution originates outside the park and is created by power plants, industry, and automobiles. Plants and animals in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park are also threatened by airborne sulfur and nitrogen pollution. The park receives the highest sulfur and nitrogen deposits of any monitored national park. These pollutants fall to the ground not only as acid rain, but also as dry acidic than normal rainfall. Clouds with acidity as low as 2 pH bathe the high elevation forest during the part of the growing season. This acid rain also affects the air quality in the park, which is crucial to many plants and animals.
Human traffic in the park is another threat the park is facing. Impacts of human traffic affect air quality from vehicle emissions, water quality through litter and runoff from campsites, the sounds of automobiles, and even soundscapes through general human noise and people hiking on trails they make themselves. And also building irresponsible campgrounds can result in trampled plants and eroded soils. This is a leading cause of the shifting baseline syndrome here in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park due to the younger generations not caring and going off trail, taking vehicles where they shouldn't be and leaving litter around.
Invasive species like wild hogs and the hemlock woolly advocate are being managed as best as the park can with different methods and systems. Wild hogs started entering the park area in the early 1920s, and usually the wildlife managers actively trap and shoot the wild hogs to stop the damage they cause to the ecosystem. The hemlock woolly advocate arrived in the Great Smoky National Park in 1951. Instantly started wreaking havoc on the hemlock trees, which provide shade for cooling streams as well as habitats for birds and smaller mammals. GSMNP uses 3 different types of treatments for killing the advocates, which are systematic treatments, which treat hemlocks that are off the beaten path in the park's woodlands or that are too tall to be sprayed. A systematic insecticide known as imidacloprid is applied to the soil or directly injected into the trunk of the tree. Foliar treatments help hemlocks in urban areas and locations with easy access to a road are treated with horticultural oils or insecticidal soap, as well as predator beetles which feed exclusively on aphids.
The history of the Great Smoky Mountain National Park has a significant role in the current threats it faces today. We do not necessarily know what the area would be like if it was not made into a protected area, but as a result of making it a national park, it did bring in different threats to the area that it did not have before, like human traffic. To address the issues of air quality, the NPS has enforced the Clean Air Act of 1970 as strictly as possible, and in 1992, the U.S. Interior Department Assistant Secretary for Fish, Wildlife, and Parks recommended that air pollution permitting authorities in 5 neighboring states not issue permits for new major pollution sources within 120 miles of the park unless measures are taken to prevent increasing impacts on park resources.
Great Smoky National Park has a team of 190 people year-round, and a peak number of 330 numbers when the traffic in the park is at an all-time high. The staff preserve, protect, and manage historical, natural, and cultural resources and buildings for us, your children, and their grandchildren.